Hey, how goes it? Ken Bozak here to talk about Bitcoin and Bitcoin accessories, and I'm here with John, aka Bitcoin Erlog of BitRefill, one of my favorite Bitcoin accessories. At least it is a Bitcoin accessory to me. It's a Bitcoin necessity, if you will. John, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself a little bit? Let the audience know about yourself and maybe a little bit about BitRefill.
Sure. Some of you know me as Bitcoin Errorlog. I spend a lot of time giving people a hard time on Twitter. For BitRefill, I was doing a project called Exotica, which was live streaming Bitcoin only campsite. Still have that, but right now focusing on BitRefill. And BitRefill I joined in December, and we're doing mobile top ups and gift cards and some new Lightning Network stuff.
Yeah, guys. So if you are holding some Bitcoin or earning it, and you want a place to spend it, definitely check out BitRefill. And I want to segue back a little bit. Wait, you said something about campsites and crypto? Oh my!
Yeah. I heard you have your own stories in this regard as well.
Oh yeah. I used to date a cam girl, and since I was into crypto, she kind of got into it as well. So it was really cool. But yeah, man, I just think that it's such a I don't know, so much synergy in use case in that industry, and I would say the cannabis industry, just as much because of the you can't really have a bank account if you're an adult actor. They give you a hard time at banks. Same thing with cannabis industry. If you're even an employee, let alone the business, good luck getting a bank account. So the power of having this store of your value somewhere like in crypto and not have to worry about a third party stealing it just because terms and services change overnight. Plus the freedom to just me send money to my favorite actor or actress from anywhere in the world, without having to go through any third party, without them taking note of it or data analyzing my fetish or something. Like that's a whole different thing we can get into with blockchain and the privacy of like cryptos. But I think it's just empowering for the people that are in the industry as a whole.
Yeah, I think there are definitely use cases in that sense. It might be that it's just a little too early for the moment. They need to understand Bitcoin, what it can do for them, and a lot of the challenges in the adult industry they kind of write off as cost of doing business. Like when a payment processor closes and everybody loses their money, they just say, "Well, at least we made a lot of money doing something else."
Or the
But
processor steals
the truth,
30%. Because that's like the digital
well,
pimp fee, really.
I think that middlemen do provide a service, and I'm not really always one to jump on complaining that this person is taking too much of a percent or such, because they're getting that percent because the market is letting them get that percent,
That's true.
because they must be providing some kind of service. And there's a whole dynamic to how that industry works with how people are getting enough money to be able to do what they do. And so I don't know that Bitcoin is going to save anybody a lot of uh, problems with middlemen providing services, because there's a lot that it takes to get traffic and provide services, provide the platform, etc. Then there are studios and things like this. But yeah, but you want there to be a path for people to have independence. So like if a model wants to model independently from her own home and earn her own money and not have to worry about a bank account, Bitcoin can do that for them. And it can also give the customer privacy as well. So he doesn't have to have things showing up on his credit card statement, people tracking who he is, adult sites keeping his financial information, etc.
Yeah, and then you have like an Ashley Madison hack, and there goes your marriage because your privacy was in somebody else's hands, and that's what happens.
Yeah,
It's important to
I
be
guess some
aware.
people would say you deserve it, but I don't know. It's
No.
That's not for me to decide.
Yeah, it's not for us exactly. It's definitely not for us to decide. That is too deep to be one person judging. It's too many topics, too many moving parts. But I want to touch into spending crypto. I've actually used BitRefill to buy Domino's pizza gift cards and buy
Mhm.
porn with those coupon codes. Because a cam girl would say, "Oh, I'm hungry" or something on Twitter, and like as a joke, I'd always be like, "Hey, I'll send you some Dominoes," and they'd be like, "I don't want you to know where I live." I'm like, "That's not how the internet works." Like, I just send you a code. You use that on your own Domino's app, and the pizza comes to you. I don't know anything, and just send me some cool foot fetish porn, and we're friends.
Yeah, is that your thing, the foot fetishes?
Oh man, yeah, yeah. And it's because I started camming with my ex that even happened. I was never into it. People would pay us to do foot stuff, and next thing you know, I'm like, I'm kind of into that. So I kind of got paid to get into a fetish. It was weird.
Well, it's good. It's good to get paid for your education instead of pay for it.
Right? Exactly. So I'm just wondering, have you ever used your own platform like for putting those two things together? Like the thing that you used to be with the cam girl crypto, and now you're with like, Bit Refill, and you can do things with crypto like that. Have you ever like paid a cam girl's phone bill or something?
No, no. I mean, I was more on the side of providing the platform. So I
True.
don't know. I think I'll bring it back somehow in some way when I have more time. But right now, I'm really mostly passionate about working at BitRefill, and you know, I'm here now with them, meeting the whole team for the first time in Spain. We're having like a little company retreat where we're doing like internal conference and presentations and getting to know everybody and planning for the rest of the year. And it's just, we have a lot of cool stuff planned, and we're really all excited to like just do Bitcoin business.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of, partnership announcements from different companies and wallets that are including Bit Refill in the wallet. So where people can hold their private keys and, it may be a wallet they're familiar with and they feel comfortable with. Bit Refill is kind of becoming an ubiquitous feature, like send, receive, Bit Refill. It's like it's just one of the things that are in all wallets now. Like if you open up a traditional wallet, people have their driver's license, credit card, Sam's Club. It's like these guys are like setting up to be kind of like a crypto Sam's Club in a sense. It's an ubiquitous
Well, it works
market
out
now.
because it's tough for wallet makers to like monetize. Like in the end, it costs money to have a developer make a
Right.
cool coin wallet, and you can only keep developing on those wallets for free for so long, and they have to find some way to make money. And so some of them will like hook into an exchange and let you buy or sell Bitcoin through an exchange, and some of them will do things like add app markets or add things like Bitrefill. And so we do have a whole widget program where we integrate with partners, and that way they can give their wallet users access to be able to just within the same app buy gift cards and mobile top ups and stuff like that. It does make it convenient, and it gives the wallet provider a way to make money.
Yeah, I actually think I got an interview lined up with Amin Samadali, I think, or from Spank Chain. Amin. And I was thinking about bringing up to him even the incorporation of Bit Refill, so I could do what I used to do without all the steps, right? Like if Spank Chain had Bit Refill in their wallet, I could just buy pizza, and it would just send the pizza to the cam girl, and I would, get whatever was on the menu for that at the time. So I think it
Yeah.
would be a really cool encompass. Like just it's so awesome that that's like where you came from and this is what you're doing now. And like I just see so much like unity and solidarity and just bringing them together because I could just pay a cam girl's phone bill or top up Netflix or whatever. There's so many things that you can do with this. It's really cool to play with. And then I think about just the social media engagement. When if how there's those tip me bots on Twitter, it'd be really cool to see like a Bit Refill plugin for like a Twitter kind of engagement where you could like tweet somebody a Bit Refill code or something into their DMs, even if they don't have
Yeah.
a way to do it. It would be really cool.
We don't have that exact idea, but we do have some cool, innovative ideas that I hope to see come to life this year. I can't really talk about them, but it's not a tip thing. But we do have some. We are trying to rethink what we can do with Lightning and what we can do with offering people ways to live on crypto. So
Lightning's
that's
really
our.
awesome, man. What are your thoughts on the Lightning network? Could you touch on that a little bit for the audience, maybe for the noobs, and then segue into more advanced if you want?
Sure. In general, like when Bitcoin first came out, and well, each stage where it first became popular, people would say things like, "Oh, it's instant payments and they're cheap and it's like nearly free to send." And then as people learned more about how Bitcoin actually works, they learned that there are confirmations and that this complicates, things for merchants, having a wallet and private keys. They learned all these details, and I think that what Lightning does is it's kind of like the second coming of Bitcoin, because now the you can use Bitcoin in a peer-to-peer way through Lightning channels, it's instant, and it is super cheap. So like finally there's a better user experience that's just waiting to happen, that's on the commerce level. So merchants can have, instant settlement. People can have hot wallets that are Lightning Bitcoin instead of, normal wallets. And I think that this is the chance for everybody to have like nice sleek UIs in their wallets and nice sleek looking software, and do a good job onboarding the next round of Bitcoiners directly into Lightning.
Yeah, I think you touched on something that was really important earlier about, it's hard for wallets to earnestly, make revenue off of the services that they provide. That's why they do a lot of partnerships with, companies that have good ethics. But I think the Lightning Network will provide a really unique ability for wallets to create channels within themselves and people using their wallets in and out, to where that might be a possible decentralized revenue source for wallet companies, that they don't have to depend on any way of anybody being able to really stop that source of funding, right? Like, we're going to use that Lightning channel because I trust, the Monarch wallet. So I'm going to use Monarch's Lightning channel whenever I use the Lightning channel. So I'm going to use theirs. It's a decentralized wallet, so it can't really, doesn't matter if they get shut down. I always have my private keys. So, like, I'm wondering, what are your thoughts on the ability to actually make revenue off of Lightning channels? Is that something that's feasible because it's such small amounts and the fees are so small, or is it feasible?
I think it's actually a lot more feasible than people realize.
Awesome.
Like right now, people laugh. They say, "Oh, look, I made 1,000 satoshis off of a month of running my node," or like they joke about only making a few dollars by routing like shit tons of payments. But to me, that says two things. One, I can't wait for the day, and I think it's going to come sooner than people realize, where I'm going to say, "Oh, I remember when people used to laugh about getting satoshis, and now everybody wishes they had satoshis." Like one day I think satoshis will be worth a lot more on the individual base level. But aside from that, I think people are really underestimating how the cost of Lightning transactions will scale, and the kind of services that people will think of to provide on top of Lightning that will make people route a lot more payments. And so we'll get a lot higher frequency of fees. So yeah, the fees will stay low, but we're going to see a lot of new ways that people use this network because it's so high frequency, and it doesn't have to take up permanent block space in the blockchain. And so you're going to see people come up with new ideas. I mean, I don't want to give you the ideas because we're still trying to decide which ones to do ourselves. But there are ways to monetize on top of Lightning by providing services, being well connected, converting people's coins, etc., on
Mm.
and off the chain, providing liquidity capacity, like we did with Thor.
Right, yeah,
Um,
that's really important. A lot of people don't understand the importance of the liquidity. Like, there, the amount of flow running through the channels has to already be sitting there. You can't move 1,000 Bitcoin unless there's 1,001 or whatever Bitcoin in a channel, so you can move it through it.
yeah, and in the
And
end, we have to remove that kind of. Oh, I think you froze. You froze for a minute. In the end, we have to remove that kind of user experience, that bad user experience from the wallets anyway. So eventually, Network is going to keep developing and removing this friction from people, so they don't have to really realize that capacity is even a thing. You know.
yeah, yeah, no, you're right. And I think that starts with, things that are kind of trending right now with the whole tip me movement on Twitter, where everyone's creating Lightning channels with, fellow crypto Twitter friends. And I don't know, I really think that's a great start.
Yeah, the LN trust chain was cool because um, it didn't really like mean anything in and of itself. Like people just passing Bitcoin around on Lightning Network. But what it did was it caused a lot of people to finally make the jump to installing a wallet, figuring out how to use it. And so everybody, that everybody that's on that trust chain, which is like I don't know, 300 people now or something, 250. I don't remember. I can't remember last time I looked. But at least that many people have all learned how to use Lightning, installed it, and can teach somebody else how to use it.
Right, and that's I brought that up earlier. Like that's what this whole like community that we have kind of is in a sense. Like we are what other people are looking at. It's like the trends, the fads. You know, it's still like that. So when something cool like this comes out, it's almost like that tip me is like the fidget spinner of crypto right now. Like everyone's into it. It's such a fad, and I hope that it catches on to like non-crypto people as well that can see like people that work in industries like the adult industry or the gaming and streaming or other outside of crypto podcasting that they can see like people can send me a couple cents that was never really possible before, and that opens an entire market up to people want to give things like GoFundMe, Kickstarter, and all these like they wouldn't exist if the urge to give wasn't there naturally. It's only prevented by the minimums, right? Or the on ramps to do so. So it's having to go through KYC and then having a minimum of X amount to have to send through a Visa card or something. It eliminates a lot of people that want to participate in that movement. So now you can just open up a wallet, send me some Satoshis, couple cents, and that's pretty powerful stuff.
Yeah. Like another example I'll give you of something that people will be able to do that might be something you can make fees off of is streaming payments. And if you can, since Lightning can let you stream payments, this means that if somebody is spending on one end and earning on the other end, you can have a middleman that's taking his fee for providing some kind of service. For example, we could say like a campsite. Like Spank Chain Amin doesn't like me, and he probably won't partner with vIRL. But go ahead and bring it up. Maybe he's a reasonable guy and will be interested. But SpankChain is proclaiming to be decentralized, but there's nothing they're doing is decentralized.
Interesting.
But something like Lightning Network could actually remove as much of the custody aspect of centralization out of that equation as possible. Like you could have the customer open a channel to the campsite and then stream his payments to the campsite and have a smart contract that will take the fees for the campsite and then pass the rest of the money immediately to the model's wallet. And so the campsite, all they have to worry about is providing a platform for centralized streaming. They don't have to hold anybody's money for more than a moment. And so there's no aspect of depositing or withdrawing anymore. There's just streaming the payments right through.
So is that a lack of the technology at the moment, or is it just a
Yeah,
lack of
yeah, I would say the
incorporation?
technology isn't there, and the people aren't interested enough to draw the technology to happen faster. Like this is what I would be doing with Exotica if I was still doing it, but
Interesting.
it's not what I'm doing. I moved on to something else for the moment,
Well, I
but
think maybe if Lightning gets a little easier from other means, it'll be incorporated into other aspects of the industries that have already incorporated crypto or blockchain in some sense. Like, I had a really hard time with, I think it was. I can't remember the platform. Crap. I lost some satoshis playing around with the Lightning channel before because it crashed or it closed or something, and nobody could withdraw because the channel closed, and it was just weird. But I've had issues already with playing around with it, and there's already jokes about like tip me exit scamming for like $4.20, taking everybody's money and running. I'm like, yeah, it's probably how much has been moved around so far, but still, it is
I have
still.
like $15 in my tipping.
It's wow. I was just people are still skeptical about Lightning Network. So maybe compare some of the cons to the pros right now. Like, is there more potential negative bugs or hitches that people could run into than the positive implementations of it at the moment?
I think it's all FUD. I think what it is people that keep projecting and saying what will be possible or would be more convenient and making it sound like you can't use it now, but you can use it now just fine. Yeah, there are some risks to using it properly. You have to know what you're doing, and like if you don't back up your state of your channel, you can lose information and lose some money or all money even.
Hmm.
But that's why they're limiting it to small amounts. That's why they're kind of gating the whole protocol to make it so nobody that can take on more risk than they know they're getting into. But in the future, we'll have things like watchtowers and ways to back up states. Be able to keep one state instead of all states to maintain the channel history. And they're just constantly making ways for it to work better. But it takes time. It's a very elaborate system, and there's a lot of paths people can go down to what interests them to optimizing in the system. So, it'll be years before we see everything, people's mind really open to the possibilities of what's capable, what Lightning's capable of. But that's what makes it so exciting is you can get in now and be a trendsetter and trailblazer if you want to.
And there's so many cool ways to get involved. I mean, there's the Casa. You could do it yourself with like the Raspberry Pi, and you could run a full node from a freaking satellite with Blockstream, dude. They have a freaking satellite node kit. It's like $120. You throw it on your roof, and you're just, it's like, I don't know. It's. I almost feel like when you're starting to look at a lot of this stuff, we're like the digital doomsday preppers. You know what I mean? Like the financial collapse is equivalent to like the government and military collapse or something. Like we have so many hardware wallets with shitcoins instead of like MREs and water and purified like stuff. It's funny, but I really do see the dominoes. Right, right. But no tinfoil hat required. You can see the dominoes falling from Venezuela to even in France, where they're just burning money in the streets that they have like ran forklifts into banks. They're running forklifts into banks, taking money, risking getting shot and killed just to burn the money in the street as a metaphor to like it's worthless. Why? What are we even going to steal? Why? You know what I mean? The message is much bigger to burn it than it would be to go spend it. So it's not far-fetched to see that this is going to be a pretty well used technology, especially when you look at Venezuela and how they're really incorporating Dash. And Bitrefill and Dash seem to have a pretty, ubiquitous like partnership where you get like 10% off when you use Dash, and the master node system with like the private insta send is pretty comparable to like Lightning channels and off-chain transactions in a sense. So I'm just wondering what your thoughts are on things like that can compete with Lightning channels like Dash and the master node systems.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. My alignment is very much with Bitcoin and Bitcoin technology, and
Respect. I say that with a
it
Dash
would
tattoo, but respect.
it would take a while for me to get into like all the arguments as to why. But just in general, I'll say like I think that Bitcoin, by being the most decentralized and the most valuable and the most stable and having the best developers, if you go ahead and build layers on that allow you to instantly transact cheaply, it makes it very hard. The altcoin proposition becomes very difficult to convey because that's mostly what they did. Like I feel like altcoins persisted for so long because it was a way of Bitcoin scaling. Like Bitcoin was getting bigger, laterally instead of scaling. And so people just started making more coins, and these coins realized they could say, "Well, look, you can send this altcoin really quickly and really cheaply, even more so than Bitcoin." But that only remains true while those coins stay small. And then you see, like for example, like with Ethereum, the bigger these altcoins get, if the design isn't the same or better than Bitcoin's, which so far none of them are, they actually run into worse scaling problems.
Mm.
And so now Ethereum is having problems. Their mempool has like 40,000 transactions in it, and they're trying to fight over how to scale, whether it to be proof of stake or sharding or all these things they want to do. But they're in the end, they're not going anywhere, and so they can't make those same arguments. And now Ethereum wants to do Plasma, which is basically their own version of Lightning. So if the biggest altcoins can do is copy Bitcoin, what's the point? You know?
Right, exactly. And I think, well, Bitcoin, it could be claimed that Bitcoin is copied from altcoins. I mean, with SegWit, Lightning was first to implement SegWit, and then Bitcoin Core
Well, it was
implements it.
designed. But what happened there was Bitcoin Core developers designed it,
Right.
and Lightning, because it's smaller, was able to activate it faster. Because they're more centralized, they actually literally made a deal with miners to get it activated.
So do you see? Well, I've seen Charlie Lee talking about Litecoin implementing privacy protocols into the blockchain by default. So I was thinking, well, wow, it's only a matter of time till Bitcoin implements a means of privacy in the blockchain by default. But then I'm thinking Lightning channels and the ability to open and close. I'm like, Well, what kind of privacy does Lightning channels provide, or does it expose any kind of privacy that you would have otherwise? Because I always think about if I open channels with somebody, and somebody was to move in, tainted Bitcoin from a blacklisted wallet or a blacklisted site, it could taint the channel, right? And then we would have issues with getting
Well,
our.
hold on, because that's the same. That's Bitcoin. Like, if somebody can send you tainted Lightning Bitcoins, they can send you tainted normal Bitcoins too. It's not a special
No, but
risk.
then it would just be me that would be at risk rather than my whole network in the channel that would if I'm hosting the channel.
But Bitcoin is a whole network of coins. Like, it's literally the same thing. It's just on another layer. And the funny part is that actually, because Lightning transactions aren't stored in the blockchain, you have a much higher potential for creating privacy within Lightning,
Mm.
because you can totally detach the movement of coins from where they came from and where they ended.
Right, it's sort of like a
And
tumbler, right?
sort of, but it doesn't settle in real time like a tumbler does. It settles at the end. So these coins can move around forever, and eventually, when somebody pulls them out, you don't know where they came from. They might look like they came from somewhere, but you have no more confidence anymore, because all you see is the open channel transaction, the closed channel transaction. So this means like coin analysis companies are going to have to start running Lightning nodes. And this is the fun part: is the only way they'll be able to get any information about a Lightning network is by actually having Bitcoin and staking it and providing liquidity on the Lightning network. So
Oh,
they
and then
literally
we would
have
have
to.
to opt in to use it, right? Nobody can make me use any Lightning channel I don't want to. I could use the optional Lightning channels.
Yeah, I mean, you can choose your route, but in the end, the routing is onion routed. So you can the person who sees the routed transaction only sees that it came to them and where to send it next. They don't know how many more hops it's going to go or how many hops it came before that.
So it could be the
So there,
first or it could be the last.
yeah, or it could be in the middle. So there's a lot of privacy options to be explored with Lightning, and we're not even seeing people talking about that yet. People will talk about it. It will be another facet to Lightning. But we're already seeing like wallets like Samurai incorporate all kinds of other cool ways to obfuscate Bitcoin transactions with like
Can you touch
Ricochet.
on that? Yeah, a little bit. A lot of people don't understand that Samurai and some other wallets are already doing this by default without it even being incorporated into Bitcoin's blockchain.
Yeah, what people don't appreciate is you can achieve a severe amount of privacy in Bitcoin if you actually try. And there are types of transactions that can be created that really do obfuscate what you're doing and where your coins came from and where they're going. And so you have like Wasabi Wallet does a coin join thing where you everybody combines coins, and it becomes very difficult to separate out who started with what and who ended with what. You have Samurai Wallet incorporating other advanced features like things called Ricochet and Stonewall, where they're just making it easy for you to choose privacy options when you're sending any transaction. And if you combine these methods with just good personal OPSEC with using whatever privacy methods come on Lightning, well, to my opinion, this is better than having default privacy on Bitcoin, because it diffuses the government being able to say Bitcoin is private and evil and we need to
Yeah.
kill it because we can't see anything. But it's like, no, you can see everything on Bitcoin. What you can't see is what people do on their in their own choices. You know what I mean? Like, Bitcoin itself doesn't hide anything from anybody. People hide things from people.
Right, right, right. Exactly. Bitcoin. Yeah, that is true. I like that. Well, I don't know. I see like the potential for the Lightning networks to be, which is scary because like to be taken over by the legacy corporations like banks, right? Like if like you said, if we want to see liquidity, where's the most liquidity? Banks have liquidity. So if exchanges want to move, like Bitcoin exchanges, crypto exchanges want to move large amounts, there's going to be an equivalent of a Bitcoin bank for those exchanges to move through in channels. And it just kind of freaks me out thinking like Goldman Sachs bought Poloniex, and they're already interested in this, community and industry, and they're taking place. They're soaking it in, and I could see like a Goldman Sachs Lightning channel opening where Binance, Coinbase, and all like Gemini have to go through their channel, and like you said, all they have to do is start data mining now. If Chainalysis wants to really start to get the DNA.
Well, there are some things you got right there, and some things that aren't quite that the way you think. Like, okay, so the centralization aspect of a Lightning Hub, the reason why people are scared of centralization is mostly because of custody. It's that entity can, not your keys, not your coins. They can say, okay, you can't withdraw these coins. You can't, these aren't yours anymore, or they got hacked and we lost all your coins. Sorry. But that's not how it works with Lightning. The custody is in the multi-signature, so the hub can't steal coins from people. Its job is that its centralization aspect is that it's providing liquidity. It's not in connection and connectivity. It doesn't actually hold the coins for you. They can't take them from you. So that's one big difference with saying, oh, what if it becomes too centralized? The real risk with centralization in Lightning is that it could cause a disruption if somebody was to close down.
That's what I was going to mention.
If a major hub closed down and they had all their channels on a timeout for some reason for a long time, people would have to wait for those channels to settle. But I think that's not actually. I think that's just like a myth. It's not. It's like a demon we're worried is going to appear one day that will never appear, because I think they're just going to keep advancing the way Lightning interacts, where it's going to be that the only way that something that would ever happen is if everybody really chose a really shitty situation to get into voluntarily. Because
right.
By default, I think we'll probably end up with Lightning channels that can settle at any moment you want them to, and this kind of perpetual state of transacting that will be very low risk. I don't think it's going to be like people say.
Interesting.
Where all of a sudden, because a major hub went out, everybody's waiting 2 weeks for their coins.
Or, well, doesn't that open the possibility for a double spend or a form of a chargeback in a sense after a transaction has been sent out if the channel has been closed and you're waiting for it to settle?
The risk with not knowing when your channel will settle is that you don't know what the cost of the transaction fee will be. So you might have to see like a futures market develop for, closing a channel or something like this so people can plan for it. But you don't, if you open a channel today and you don't exit the Lightning network for 2 years, well, maybe Bitcoin fees in 2 years are $25 for a transaction, and you're trying to withdraw $25 and you're like, shit. Like, so you might end up staying in Lightning, and they might have larger hubs that do settlements that can afford to do on-chain transactions. But this is the whole point of Bitcoin. It's supposed to be a settlement layer on the base layer.
You just opened my mind up to like check cashing agencies of the future on the Lightning channel where I don't have enough to pay the fees. So I send my Bitcoin to their Lightning channel and they give me $20 and they keep $5.
That's pretty much what we're already doing at BitRefill. People just don't realize it.
When you can open a Lightning channel right now with BitRefill and people don't realize it.
Well, maybe, but like it's more than that. Like, we allow people to deposit Bitcoin. We give people a way to buy Bitcoin with crypto, with Lightning through the Fast Bitcoins card, and we let people withdraw Bitcoin. And withdraw Lightning Bitcoin. So in a way, we can do forwarding on your check cashing already.
Dude, we're living in the future, man. I feel like everybody wants this to move so much faster than expected, but they're just not broadening their horizons and looking at the companies that are actually doing things like BitRefill. You didn't do an ICO, so that's where you fucked up. Nobody cares. No, I don't care. I don't care. I don't have any shitcoins that BitRefill pumps if I use them or if I pump them. So who cares? People in this industry right now just want to invest.
They got to spend them somewhere, right?
Well, that's the thing, right? They're not using them. That's the problem. That's why Bitcoin and cryptos aren't having such a healthy time right now in the market, is the speculative investors really came in and all they want to do is day trade, and they don't want to actually use the crypto. It's not moving anywhere. It's just sitting on an exchange, moving from one ledger to another in the exchange's hands. It's never seeing market movement, and the OTCs are just killing it.
Yeah. I made a joke. There was this lawyer I follow on Twitter, and he said, "Can anybody name a utility token that actually provided any utility for an actual product or service that people needed or wanted?" And I responded, I said, "Yeah, it's the only thing we sell at BitRefill." And the joke was basically that gift cards are the real utility tokens.
Yep.
Like, if you want a centralized entity to issue a digital thing to you so you can get products or services, it's called a gift card.
Yeah, I
you
mean
know,
that's exactly what they are. They're legacy utility tokens.
and so now you have all these like ICOs that try to make gift cards look like bitcoins, and everybody pumped them, and now everybody got wrecked.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on the future of utility tokens in that gift card sense? I actually went to a conference and I got to talk to a lot of cool companies. Like even McDonald's was there and I shamed them on their physical Big Mac tokens. I was like, that would have been cool in 1990, dude. But like you could have done a Waves token or an ERC20 or anything, man. I mean, look what Engine's doing. You know, they have these NFTs that I don't know. So I kind of broadened their horizons a little bit, but I'm curious what your thoughts are on, companies making utility tokens. I joke around with a lot of my friends about ERC20s being like, like that joke in Rick and Morty where it's like slavery with more steps. Because you can't really use that utility token without gas, and you have to get your customers to understand this extra step. But like, there's platforms like Waves that have the what do they call it? Sponsored transaction fees. So if you build a token on Waves, you can use the token that you created for its own transaction fee. So if I wanted to send you some Spank, since it's an ERC20, I wouldn't have to have ETH. It would just cost me X amount more of Spank, like any other currency. So like, what are your thoughts on like the future use of like mainstream utility token gift card scenarios?
I don't. I think mostly so far, almost totally, utility tokens have been a joke and not necessary. But I do think actually, I'll give Spank Chain some props here. I think that they're one, if not the only, interesting utility token.
One
And it's not because of what they're doing with the campsite or what they're doing to decentralize camps. It's nothing to do with that. It's that they're doing two things. Um, they're letting people stake what is essentially a security in the company to be able to get what is essentially dividends from the earnings of the company. But they have, I don't know if you know how much how Spank Chain works, but you get the Spank tokens and you put them in and you lock them, and you stake them, and that gives you the ability to access the revenue from their business.
right.
And they've essentially issued a security, but they've done it in such a way that where they've maybe obfuscated regulations to be able to get away with it, without actually following normal regulations. Now, that to me is interesting. It's mostly interesting because it's likely illegal, but it's at least they're tapping into providing an actual utility. Like they found a scheme for getting somebody to invest in their company and get access to revenue. And this is way more interesting than just having a sentimental token that has the same name as the business that I like. You
Right, like
know?
if I had like a Big Mac token and I staked it and it gave me a I don't know, a McHappy token that I could use as a utility to get 10% off if I gave them 100 tokens at the register or something.
Yeah, so there's maybe some potential for using tokens, more directly for redeemable value. But all the ICOs were mostly focusing on redeeming them for access to the network,
Right,
which
right.
was not, which is what Bitcoin's already for. You didn't need to make another coin to pretend to be Bitcoin. You could have just used Bitcoin.
That's
And
usually my
when they
first
say,
question. Why not Bitcoin?
well, in the past, the correct answer would have been that it's too expensive or not fast enough. But now you have Lightning, and their excuses to not use Bitcoin are running out.
Yeah, and it will keep running out. And I think that's the funny like thought of it all is like a lot of these companies that are being built right now and putting so much effort into altcoin blockchains, they're just basically building the open source building blocks for people that are going to put that time and resource and take that and build it on Bitcoin and just it's gonna be, hey, you remember Blockbuster? It's like, yeah, yeah, you remember? Like they're gonna be a thing of the past, real quick, because I don't see as many people using altcoins as I do Bitcoin. Nobody is talking about any altcoin ETF. We have no institutional attention in most of these altcoins, and there most never will be. And the point of it is too demi-centralized. Like even Ethereum is just way too centralized due to its demigod, Vitalik. And I don't see companies being comfortable with that. They much rather, deal with this Satoshi guy that they never met.
I mean, I think altcoins will persist for a long time going forward. I really do hope that we get to see, um, when you have a more secure, more higher technology alternative, that we start seeing less speculation and more actual utility and usage, and that eventually just pulls actual value into Bitcoin, where people just can't deny anymore. They just know that they have to realize better the risk they're actually getting into when they're purely speculating on coins without any utility. There's just a lot of inefficiency in the market still, and that's the only reason why 2018 happened with ICOs. Is there was so much ignorance and so much people had way too much money to burn, and it just caused a whole bubble of ICOs. It happened along with Bitcoin pumping, but I think it's kind of how it happens too. Like people make money off of Bitcoin and they want to put that money to work and they want to keep doubling down, and eventually the house comes and cleans up. You know.
Yeah, no, you're right. You gotta, don't let the house win every time. You always gotta at least get your capital back, and you
Yeah,
can let.
my motto, I tell people, if you're happy, stay happy. They said, like, I have a guy who come up to me and say, "Hey man, I'm in a trade right now. I'm up 1 BTC on BitMEX." And I said, he said, "What?" He says, "What should I do? What do you think about the price?" I said, "I don't know. Are you happy?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, "Okay, stay happy." Just figure out what it takes to stay happy, and that's all you need to do.
Right, exactly, man. So, I wanted to touch on NFTs a little bit, and like, the future market thoughts I've have of that is where I see jokes of memes of people on Twitter saying will work for crypto kitties and stuff like that. But jokes or not, I do see the market for NFTs growing
You have to tell
enormously.
me what an NFT is.
A non-fungible token like crypto kitties, or like what
Okay.
Engine's doing, things like ERC 721s.
Well, I'll say this. I don't know if you need a blockchain to do this, but like, I'm a big Dota 2 fan. And in Dota 2, like, I don't know how familiar you are with it, but there are some other popular games like Counter Strike and things like this. You have like what they call skins, which are digital items that your characters can wear while you play. They
Yeah,
don't affect
OpSkins
game.
and Wax are doing this on their blockchain right now.
Yeah, so you have skins, and these skins, uh, Steam, the company that makes Valve, the company that makes Dota, they kind of regulate this market where they limit the quantity of. Some of them are rarer than others, and this kind of thing. So it creates value, and they also provide an aftermarket. But the thing about the Steam market and the Valve regulation of these items is you can never get back into cash. You can only buy more games when you sell these items.
Mm.
So now there are these websites that have come out where they have created bots that trade with each other, and they manage what's essentially like layer two of Steam. And so they hold custody of these skins for people, and they let people use Bitcoin and PayPal and other payment methods to buy and sell skins. So they've created a kind of black or gray market where people can actually get cash or Bitcoin for these cosmetic items.
Dude, that is
So that's
awesome.
to me says maybe they just need to put these items on a blockchain and let people trade the items with each other. And then maybe if I know this private key is this, you know, rare hat for my hero, then I can sell it to somebody for Bitcoin directly.
Right, or loan it out, which that's something I've talked a little bit about with Celsius
Where's
Network.
the hat?
Dude, I mean, well, not just that, but I mean, imagine if Grand Theft Auto 10 comes out and all the cars are tokenized, assets on a blockchain. That there's only 1,000 Ferraris in the online version, right? So only 1,000 people can have these Ferraris. Well, I don't play the game so much, but I don't want to sell it because I'm attached to it. But I could loan it to people that want to borrow the car when they're online, and I could actually earn off of, loaning out a non fungible asset that's, an ERC 721 token. And I
It's
mean,
actually not a bad idea.
dude, it's genius. And like
I
gamers,
don't know about the token part, but just the concept of renting instead of selling digital items is an interesting idea.
could you imagine having all season one Fortnite skins on lease where people could borrow John Wick and just run around in season six because they can't get John Wick? It's vaulted. You know, that skin is so desired that nobody would want to sell it, but they would be willing to lease it and let people play with the skin on.
That's interesting.
I think it would be cool to see things like that in Bit Refill where like I
You
could
can go get a job at Valve.
I think they drug test. But but I think it would be cool to see things like that on Bit Refill, where I could potentially use NFTs and settle on a non-fungible market, like selling 3 crypto kitties to pay for my Uber ride. You know, it would be
Well, the
like that's
issue is
just the
that
next step.
BitRefill can't be the one to create this because we're a marketplace and we're processing lightning payments and stuff, but we're not a gaming company,
You
so
could partner with OpenSea. Have you heard
we
of
can't
them?
generate these skins, you know. So it ends up needing to be the central provider needs to get into blockchain and create and try this, and then we could list it on our market. You know, we could have a market where you could, you know, theoretically, if every major game, you know, made their market accessible through an API, then we could put it in our marketplace, and we could have a whole skins marketplace.
Oh, it's totally happening. I think Neon District just broke 4,000 followers on Twitter in like a week. And I was at the conference in New York City where they had like their debut. It's pretty cool. It's like Mortal Kombat, but the characters are tokenized, and it's like pretty
Yeah.
cool. But yeah, these games are happening, and I think it's just cool to see like you know or at least for me, where I think it's going. Especially when you look at like streamers like Ninja and stuff like that, and you know, I'm even tokenized. I'm on 2 blockchains. I'm on the Ethereum blockchain. I have a collectible sticker that's you know scarce in quantity, and then I'm on the Engine blockchain that just partnered with Samsung. So I'm on a blockchain as a tokenized little me that's a default wallet in the Samsung 10 phone that's coming out. It's like I feel like I'm
If I
so
had a
living in the future.
token, wallet, I'd make you give me some Ken tokens, but I don't have it, so.
I gotta see. I got my own shitcoins, but they're collectible NFTs. So I am my own shitcoin. Don't get it twisted. I'll show myself all day. Go get my tokens. They're out there. Pump them. I don't know. Somebody tweeted earlier that my coin doubled in value. So I was like,
Nice.
sweet, I'm rich. So is that
I,
that kind of segues into the potential of a company like Bitrefill to do like an STO and create their own utility token and stuff. Is that not something that would ever be in like you know the thought process of a company like this where it's providing a service, people want you know to provide equity or get equity into it and like something like that?
I'm not saying it's something that we would never do, and even if we were, we probably wouldn't say it, you know, until we did it. But in general, we're a very Bitcoin aligned company, so you're not going to see us issuing an ERC20 token, if that's what you mean.
Okay.
But if we ever felt like it was, you know, I can't speak for the company in this regard, but if it became a easy regulatory path to issue a token and we were choosing to IPO and we could IPO on Bitcoin, why not? You know.
Yeah, I think people need to check out things like color coins and burning Bitcoin to create your own token out of Bitcoin value. It's pretty cool.
Yeah,
Like Raven
counterparty's
coin
pretty
and shit.
cool. Counterparty you could issue tokens on for years before ERC20.
Yeah.
Um,
But I mean, it wasn't as fun. It wasn't as cool. You know, and that's funny because that's why I think Ethereum's you know hurting right now is because it's being misused. It's being abused for a very small feature that it wasn't really intended to facilitate so much use for that small feature. Like smart contracts got put on the back burner and ICOs were just like the main use case. And I'm hopeful that the ICO market incentive to die down and smart contract development to you know kind of increase. I would like to see what it would look like with a year of as much attention that went into ICOs go towards smart contracts.
well, the attention that went into ICOs wasn't exactly technological attention. You know, it was a lot of marketing, a lot of promotion, a lot of investing. So if you want to see a similar you know, power of human resources be put into smart contracts. But it's going to have to be back real developers and stuff.
Well, the
And you've seen
ICO
it.
market gobbled up the real developers, man. 6 figures a month
They weren't real
minimum.
developers. There weren't that many real blockchain developers in the first place.
That's true.
It was
Jimmy Song's been spitting them out like a mama bird. It's and there's a lot of people out there right now educating Bitcoin development than there was before. You're definitely right.
yeah. I mean, some of these blockchains for these ICOs never even happened. I mean, there was a lot of ICOs, and a lot of them were just the ones that did happen were just copies of other blockchains.
Dude, that's most successful ICOs left and did their own blockchains. Look at EOS and Tron and everybody who basically just used Ethereum as a Kickstarter to build their own blockchain. The successful ICOs
EOS
don't use Ethereum.
is billion. EOS is scary because they have billions of dollars, so it's like you can't really count on them going away anytime soon, unless they really majorly fuck up.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of companies kind of have in the bear market we've seen obvious layoffs left and right from Steam from EOS, from everywhere, and it's pretty funny to see Tron gobbling them up, having them build on Tron's blockchain in the bear market. And I feel like, if Bitcoin doesn't have a foundation like that, there is no I guess, well, no, not even, but like there's nobody out there like that is Satoshi to Bitcoin that there is to, Justin Sun is Tron's. But that moment when I saw like a lot of these developers move into Tron, I saw the same, like I was like, Bitcoin's going to do the same thing, except nobody's going to hire you outright, but you're going to be incentivized to get off that blockchain and develop on Bitcoin's blockchain eventually. Just like that's, to me, that was like maybe one of the first steps in a moment of history where we've seen sort of like a migration of developers from multiple blockchains move to one like Tron, and seeing what Tron's doing with that is pretty amazing. And I'm just like, Bitcoin's going to get that same thing. All these developers are going to migrate from multiple blockchains with multiple different skill sets to build on top of Bitcoin.
Well, it kind of reminds me of like when Facebook was getting really big, like back in, I don't know, 2010 years, and that kind of year area. I had a marketing company that I was doing, and one of the things we did was we would build websites for people. And I remember there was like this whole summer, the summer of Facebook, where every other guy that came in the door wanted to build his own Facebook. And he's like, I'm going to make a Facebook, but it's going to be this kind of Facebook. It's going to not suck the way Facebook sucks. It's going to have what Facebook has missing. And it was just like shitcoins. Like it was
Sound like Roger Ver. I'm going to make a Bitcoin that's better than Bitcoin.
yeah. And so there were all these it would vary from like a kid to like an old investor guy. He had more money than he knew what to do with. So he'd say, like, oh, I'm going to put all kinds of money into remaking Facebook. And I'm like, man. And I would basically do my best to talk them out of it. And once in a while, they would still do it anyway. But like,
they could have
why are
built
you
on
going
top
to
of Facebook. They could have done games. A lot of companies decided to build games on top of Facebook and made a killing. Look at Farmville. Holy
Well, I
shit.
mean, a lot of people made a lot of money entertaining those guys, saying, "Yeah, I'll help you build your old Facebook," and that's kind of what the ICO market is. It's like an aftermarket of people that are living a blockchain fantasy. They're trying to pretend that they can relive what happened with Bitcoin, and it's like a fantasy. It's like LARPing.
Yeah, the only people that profited was the conferences. They were the hype men of the ICOs for sure. You know what I mean? Come to our conference. We're gonna have this guy's a speaker. This guy's a speaker, and give us X amount of money for a booth. You're gonna get investors. You're gonna succeed, and all that. You're right. They had a lot of hype men in their corner. Instead of realists.
Yeah, marketers made a lot of money off of ICOs. People selling ICOs made a lot of money most of the time. But yeah, I don't know.
So
Hopefully the next pump won't be so depressing to see people putting a lot of money into things they shouldn't be.
Well, I think there was a lot of Darwinism that took place, and people will be able to learn from spectating rather than participating off of that. Like, there was no lesson to have learned from spectating a previous event like this, right? Like, there was no, hey,
that's the
look.
sad part, is that's not actually true. This did happen before. The ICO thing wasn't the first time that we had this happen in
Well,
Bitcoin.
yeah,
It
altcoin
just was.
phenomenon was like the first.
Yeah, well, first we had Ponzi's, and that was the first time people invested in dumb shit with their bitcoins. We had literal Ponzi schemes. Then we had altcoins. Then we had Bitcoin securities, where people were actually issuing stocks in centralized exchanges that were like black market exchanges, and they were, here's a stock in my mining farm. Here's a stock in, mining contracts. Here's a stock in, I'm going to be a trader for you and make money for you, and they had stocks and everything. And then that all got shut down, and people lost money, and some people got fined from the SEC and stuff. And then Ethereum ICO'd, and that was like the next wave. So like it actually has been happening and iterating with every Bitcoin pump, and it's been getting bigger, not smaller. That's the scary part.
Ooh.
And so I'm worried that the next Bitcoin pump that there'll be an even bigger, worse thing than ICOs.
STOs and utility tokens might be it. Like, I am seeing it. It's if not, it's going to be the non-fungible tokens, the NFTs, because a lot of companies are using NFTs as a sort of an ICO cash grab, and nobody's fucking talking about it. And I think I should just make a whole video on it. But like right now, there's so many games that you can buy non-fungible token characters in their game, but the game doesn't fucking exist. The platform isn't there. So like you might as well just be buying a fucking ICO coin. So like it's a cash grab right now, and I think it's the next ICO phenomenon where a lot of people are going to be stuck with these NFTs and nowhere to play or use or do anything with them.
Yeah, it could be. I would say that maybe stable coins combined with security tokens could be a nice way to develop a really big scam and make people lose a lot of money. Like too many people put too much money in a certain stable coin or too many stable coins, and then somehow that money gets locked up.
Gemini,
Maybe
cough.
or an Ethereum contract crashes or something, and everybody's balances get fucked up or something bad happens, or security tokens where like companies realize that they can kind of double IPO if they do an STO along with their IPO, and they
Yes.
kind of fuck.
Yeah, no, you're right. Fuck. I don't know. Let's say we're in
There's
something
no.
more optimistic, man. Let's talk about the we talk about the ease of usability, right? And just making the user experience more, convenient and less nobody wants to be a rocket scientist to spend Bitcoin. So how's Bit Refill kind of, I would say, dumbing down this spending or using of cryptocurrencies for the average person?
I don't know that we're in the direct path of it, but we definitely think about it. For example, like one thing that's really big on our plate right now is redoing the user interface for how you actually shop for the cards at our site. Like right now, we realize it's a bit too many clicks to get to finding what you want, paying for what you want, and on the kind of Bitcoin side, well, we're making it easier for people to use Lightning with Tor channels and things like this. We accept other altcoins as well. So if you want to sell altcoins to be able to get Bitcoin or some of our gift cards, you can do that. And what we do is we show people that you can actually use Bitcoin to get real stuff. And it's not always apparent when you introduce somebody to Bitcoin. Then they're like, oh, well, what the hell did I use this for? You
Right.
know?
It's kind of like the first thing I show people anymore is kind of like my Monarch wallet and my Bit Refill app, because I'll open it up and I'll be like, look, like this is the wallet I use as a checking savings account, and this is my pocket money that's on my Bit Refill that I'm going to be spending, and if I need to put some more pocket money into my Bit Refill, here's my checking account. I send it to the other wallet, like I show them, copy, paste, upload, and then I buy a gift card for, like I say, like usually it's freaking Domino's. I'm such a fat kid, but that's my go-to. And they're like, wow, like that was really easy. And I was like, look, I didn't need to show any ID. I didn't have to go through any other like velvet ropes, and all I had to do is download the Domino's app and give them the code, and now my pizza's on the way. And this is
Yeah.
really empowering, that if you have a friend that's in a situation that's whatever, I need something to eat, you could help that person out. If this was around when I was younger, dude, I would be all over teaching my grandmom how to buy me pizza with Bit Refill because of how easy it is, because she would be doing it all the time. Grandmas love feeding me. It's just what they do. So it's really cool to see, like, I could send a pizza from here to North Korea or whatever, or not exactly, but you know what I mean. It's just so borderless. But I don't see people just so underappreciate the products that actually exist and the companies that are actually doing things.
Yeah, I
So
definitely think we show that. Like, a lot of times people will say, "I have Bitcoin, but no, I can't use Bitcoin at my restaurant. I can't use Bitcoin to buy my coffee." And like now we're finally getting closer to where we say, actually, that's not true. You can, like people can use Bitcoin to buy their coffee with Starbucks gift cards, or like we did the campaign a couple weeks ago. You can pay for your Tinder account with
yep.
Bitcoin. No, Tinder doesn't accept Bitcoin directly, but because you can pay through Google Play, you can use Bitcoin to pay for Tinder. You know.
Yeah, I like doing it with Starbucks too. Starbucks is pretty cool. People were like, "Yo, you could buy Starbucks with Bitcoin." I'm like, I've been doing that forever. Like, why is this now popular or cool? Like, you've always been able to do this with projects or products like Bitrefill. You just don't acknowledge them because you can't pump your bags or something. It's really upsetting to see like that's what gets people to talk about something. If they're not able to, grab a bag of it, they just don't really get any incentive to check it out or talk about it. And I'm hopeful to see more Bitcoin use ability, like people using it rather than just speculating on it. And I think if people realized that they had two Bitcoin and they took one and did something with it, spent it, gave it away, used it, put out a bounty and incentivized somebody to do something with your Bitcoin on the line, or go to a local business and tell them you'll pay 10% more if they just accepted Bitcoin, stuff like that. Your one Bitcoin that you put on ice, that'll increase exponentially in value because you did something with the other one.
Yeah, Bitcoin gets a lot more powerful the more we can make it a circular economy. The less people feel like they need to be converting it into other monies, the stronger the whole network becomes.
Yeah, that's how I kind of try to keep it. Try to keep it full circle. Like I get paid in Bitcoin. Then I try to find people that are long-term holders. So I have local meetups and stuff and like circles peer to peer. So people, I'm like, close your Coinbase account. And they're like, well, how do I buy Bitcoin? I'm like, peer to peer. Like before local Bitcoins went mandatory KYC, they were the most empowering tool. But now they're just a sellout, in my opinion. So I think something like local Bitcoins, where you just go peer to peer, and I sell my Bitcoin to a long-term Bitcoin investor who's going to make sure that I'm ensuring the Bitcoin I have in my savings doesn't get affected because they're not going to dump. They're actually increasing the value, and then I can take that fiat and pay my rent or something like that.
I don't know if local Bitcoins would be classified as a sellout in my book. I think what happened was they're just trying to stay out of jail. You know, I think that they got away with providing that service for a long time, and eventually somebody gave them the hint that it's like, hey, if you guys keep doing this, you're gonna spend the rest of your days in court if you're lucky, or in jail if you're not lucky.
Yeah, no, I feel like that's the same conversation somebody had with Eric Voorhees or something. Like somebody sat next to him at the bar and was like, "Yo, heads up," and shapeshifted the same thing and went mandatory KYC. And I think when I saw Goldman Sachs buy Poloniex, I totally foreseen the mandatory KYC phenomenon sweeping everybody. And I am
Yeah,
very aware that with Binance implementing the ability to purchase crypto with credit card and debit card, it's a matter of time until they have to implement some form of KYC for U.S. customers. And I just hope people get their money off that exchange before they just don't even have the means to. People that don't have driver's license because they're unbanked and whatever reason, you're not going to be able to go through it. You're not going to get your money. It's going to suck.
indeed. Yeah. Hopefully, Berryfield never has to KYC because that would require regulations where people say that you have to KYC for gift cards,
Yeah,
and it's separate regulation that would affect us. But gift cards have been around for a long time, and they're not KYCing them yet.
no, and you have no need to lobby for them. They have ginormous pools of lobbyists that push for their ease of use. And I've told people every time somebody says Bitcoin money laundering, I'm like, how easy it is to launder money with a Visa gift card. Like it's not
Yeah.
hard. I go into a store, I give them a bunch of cash. They give me a Visa gift card, and then I just send a text message of the numbers on the gift card to somebody anywhere in the world. I just laundered money. So it's
Well, another interesting thing is you have to remember money laundering is a legal term, And the definition of money laundering is when you hide the source of illicitly gained funds or you are committing tax evasion. It's not privately sending value. That's not money laundering. That's it's legal to privately send value. It's not an illegal thing to hide what you're doing with your money. Um, it's only illegal to circumvent specific regulations, which are that you have to pay your taxes, and that you can't clean illegally gained money. And so, if it's actually money you earned and you paid taxes on, and actually a legitimate use of that money, you have no necessity to have it be in the open, that transaction. It's legal for you to privately transact things where you're not committing a crime.
Yeah, it's a God given
It's
right.
not illegal to be private, you know?
So I guess
So
to kind of wrap things
there's
up,
a lot of money.
I didn't realize we were over an hour, man. So if you have more time, I could talk to you for days, bro. Like this has been awesome.
It's been a long day for me, man. I gotta get going soon.
So let me wrap things up here with one last topic with the bear market and what are your thoughts on what it would take to see another bull run? Is it an ETF or is it the retail investors? Where do you see the next bull run being kickstarted? Like what is it going to take to get another one going? Because it just seems like we're right on the edge of the seat of it, and then every other day we're just who knows again.
I think that a lot of people made a lot of money off of Bitcoin in the past few years, and there are a lot of people living off of Bitcoin, and it's there's a lot of downward pressure, and that's how we got here and why we've been down here for so long. I don't even know if we've seen the bottom yet. It's totally possible it could go lower. I don't know, but what I do know is that to me, a Bitcoin is still worth $20,000, and so I'm avoiding selling Bitcoin anywhere I can under $20,000. So that's the kind of trick of it is you have to be willing, you have to be in a financial situation where you can sell your Bitcoins only when they're worth more than what you paid for them. And that's why people say only invest as much as you can lose or only what you can afford and all this typical financial advice. But what will it take to get out of the bear market? It's basically, when there's more demand than sellers. I know that sounds like an asshole answer, but it's the truth. Like, right now there are still is an equilibrium of as many people that need to make money off of Bitcoin that want to buy it, and eventually what will happen is the sellers will dry up, and there'll be more people that want to buy Bitcoin, and it'll just start scaling right back up again. And there's no way to predict how quickly that will happen or when it will happen. And I just think what we have learned from history is that it probably will happen.
Yep.
And it's better to be trying to figure out how much of your money you can hold for how long and how much of it you can save in an investment that you actually have trust in, than to try to be trading or trying to predict tops and bottoms and pretending you're some kind of oracle.
Dude, I couldn't have said it better myself. So, one last recap on Bit Refill, if you could, just what could people expect for the roadmap that you can touch on? Because I know you said a lot of it you can't. So, just what can people expect from Bit Refill in 2019, and where can they find you and more information about Bit Refill?
Sure, I've got some things we can share. Basically, we are going to continue expanding our product line for gift cards and our products in general, maybe into some new areas beyond gift cards, but expanding both categorically and geographically. So we're going to make sure we cover as many countries as possible with as many popular gift cards and popular options for living on crypto as possible in those countries. We're going to probably start dabbling more with bill pay stuff. Um, we're definitely going to be dabbling more with Lightning Network related services and Bitcoin technology, and branching out into that area. Definitely going to be doing that more. Going to be polishing up the website to make it more usable, adding more partners. We're going to be appearing at a lot more conferences this year. So there's two or three people from the team that will be appearing at various Bitcoin conferences, so you can see us there. Otherwise, if you want to spend your crypto on something, we probably have something that you could spend it on that you want at therefill.com. If you want to follow me on Twitter, on Bitcoin Error Log on Twitter and on Telegram if you want to chat. And that's about it.
Man, thanks so much, man. I appreciate you coming on. Shout out to everybody over at Bit Refill. Where'd you say you were in again? Spain?
Yeah, we're in Spain,
God,
all
it
visiting
must
each
be
other.
so nice, dude. It's like winter where I'm at, and there's snow. And just say hi to everybody and give them a hug for me because I've been using Bit Refill to like help me live completely off of crypto like for over a year and a half now. So without you guys,
Yep.
life would just be so much more inconvenient. So thank you, and everybody, check out Bitcoin Error Log on Twitter and Bit Refill. And yeah, John, much appreciated, bro. Have a day.
Thanks for having me, man. I had fun.